What's up, guys? Mason the Rock Henderson here, and after all the talk about, how I've been frustrated with the performances, even though the results have been pretty good recently, um, today is a performance that wasn't great, but I'll take the result because Palace away is it's going to be a difficult contest. We know Palace has the ability to hit you on the counter very well. I mean, they just took it to Man City last weekend. So it's going to be difficult. On top of that, we've got a lot of games coming quickly, and Sarri continues to just make one or two changes without changing much anything else. So it's going to be difficult for us to have to play in those conditions. And so to get a 1-0 win, kind of grind out a result, and honestly not really give them many chances is a good result for me. I still think we need to finish our chances a lot better because there are a lot of missed opportunities that we had today. But I'll take the 1-0 win. I think overall it was a good enough performance against a very sturdy and stubborn Palace team. So yeah, I'll definitely say this is a game where the performance was not going to be good, no matter how we set up, unless he made more changes to the team, which obviously he's not going to because it's Sarri and he's stubborn. So it was not going to be a good performance, but the result was good, which, in my opinion, makes it a good enough performance. As far as Sarri is concerned, though, I do have to say, I mean, the lack of changes is still very disappointing. And it shows whenever you've got Alonso, who's probably our worst player, and Jorginho, who's our second worst player, and they continue to get time. Don't get me wrong, I understand he doesn't want to put Conte where Jorginho is, and he doesn't have Fabregas today because he was out injured, but why not try something different? Because Jorginho's not been cutting it. And today he played a bit better, but he was still one of our weak links in the field. And Alonso, I mean, how many times do I have to talk about how bad Alonso's been this season? I mean, he's been awful. And yet he continues to play. You've got Emerson and Zappacosta both on the bench. You could put either of them on the field, and they'd probably give you at least a little bit more on one or both sides of the ball. And yet he continues to play Alonso. And I don't understand it. So, I don't know what has to happen before Sarri finally sees the problem, but, I mean, good Lord. Today was another bad game from him. And all I'm thinking is, why is he even on the field today? Why is Sarri continuing to put his faith in a guy who's done nothing for us since the beginning of the season? He had one or two good games at the very, very beginning. Like the first and second game, I think, were his better games this season. And even then, they were still just good. They weren't anything spectacular. He was like, I think he scored one and assisted one in both of those games. But that's been it. I mean, he's really given us nothing since then on both sides of the ball. Defensively, he's been awful. Attacking-wise, he's given us nothing to work with. I mean, the best he's done is he gets in good positions, which causes them to have to sit deeper. But that doesn't help us because we don't want them to sit deeper. We don't want them to pack it in because that's where it hurts us the most. And so him getting up the field is actually kind of hurting us a bit more. I don't know. It's frustrating to watch. It really is annoying to see a player with so little production, with so little work rate sometimes, continue to play game after game. So that's my biggest frustration with Sarri. The rest of it, he was hindered today by a lot of injuries. I was very upset not to see Loftus-Cheek until I saw after that, he picked up an injury in training. So, yeah, no Loftus-Cheek, no Fabregas, no Pedro, no Hudson-Odoi. That's a lot of injuries to contend with. So I do think that is a bit of a problem, but I still think the changes that he could have made that he didn't are still the frustrating ones, with Jorginho and Alonso. As far as the individual performances, Kepa today, I saw a bit more of what everybody was raving about at the beginning of the season, he's so good with his feet. I haven't seen that at all this season. Like, I have not remembered any moments where I'm like, that was a really good pass. Today he actually had 3 or 4 good passes for a keeper. And honestly, good passes for even an outfield player. They were very well placed, good power on it. They ended up right at the feet of who he was trying to go to. He had 3 or 4 of those moments today. But one game where he has 3 or 4 good moments on the ball does not justify the price tag. And once again, I'm going to go back to my Claudio Bravo argument where when they picked him up at Man City, everybody was raving, he's so good with his feet. Pep's going to turn him into a great player and, he's going to fit into the system. And then he was giving away goals left and right because he's a terrible keeper. Same thing with Kepa. Except for Bravo, they spent what was at the time considered a pretty large amount for a keeper. We spent a large amount for what an outfield player would cost for a keeper that is shown one game where he's been good with his feet, and on top of that still has not shown why he's a good keeper because he continues to give away cheap goals. So, yeah, one good game with the ball at his feet does not justify anything for me. We still way overpaid for a very average keeper. In the back line, more solid today from Rudiger and David Luiz. David Luiz had better moments on the ball today as well, so I thought both of them played pretty well. And Rudiger, I mentioned in the review against Watford, he's had a little bit more of a crazy streak recently where he's gone diving into challenges that he doesn't have any right to be. So I'm glad today, he showed a lot more solidity. He showed a lot more of that smart play that I've seen throughout most of the season that, in my opinion, has justified his decision to continue to play. Espilicueta is still very solid. Had to deal with Zaha today for quite a lot of it and shut him up for the most part. So really glad to see that from him. And then Alonso, yeah, I will say I've already talked enough about him, but there was one moment that I just found so ironic that it made me laugh. It was like one of the first moments of the game. David Luiz chips a ball to him that ends up kind of skipping up, and then he tries to keep it in, but it goes out of bounds, and then he punches the ball away in frustration and gets a yellow card for it. And then he blasts David Luiz because David Luiz gave him a bad ball. How can you not see the irony in that? Marcus Alonso getting upset at somebody else for giving him a bad ball. How many bad crosses, how many bad passes, how many times have you given the ball away this season, and then somebody gives you one bad ball today, and you punch it away in frustration and get yourself booked like a freaking moron? God, when I saw that, I'm just like, yeah, okay, this is going to be a difficult game to watch. I can already tell. Yeah, anyway, moving on from him into the midfield. Jorginho, like I said, there were better moments from him today. It was a better game from him overall, but still doesn't justify him playing in that position over Conte. Now, Conte did justify him going forward a little bit more today, but for Jorginho, he picks out those passes every once in a while. But for Fabregas, it's like he picks out that pass at least twice as much as Jorginho does. That good pass that finds a great outlet that all of a sudden starts our attack. For Jorginho, it's like he'll find it, but then there are other times where it's on and he doesn't see it, or it's not a good enough ball and he gives it away. That's not good enough. If you're going to put him there, he needs to make sure to do it at least 3 out of 5 times, not 1 out of 6 or 7 times. Which, Fabregas does that. He finds a pass very, very often. I just don't understand. I don't understand how Sarri can continue to justify to himself why Jorginho is playing there. Because I have not seen enough throughout the majority of this season. Say what you will about the beginning. In my opinion, that was one of those situations. It's very similar to I'm trying to think of a good example. Because Rashford and Kane have both sort of stepped up their games to where now they've justified. But it's like that one player that steps in at the very beginning. Trent Alexander-Arnold is a good example. He hasn't really shown up in the past few games, but when he first started, teams didn't know what to expect from him. And so he really, he played well, he looked good, but now that teams have figured him out, he hasn't been able to play as well as he has been. He's still been somewhat effective, but he's not been as effective as when he started. I'd say the same thing for Jorginho. When he first started in the league, teams were unsure of what to do, how to play against him, but now that they've figured him out, he's such a bit part player that he doesn't really provide what we need out of a distributor in the midfield. And yet Sarri continues to use him there. And Jorginho is not changing his game at all, so obviously he's bringing that stubborn mentality that Sarri likes so much, but that's not what we need to win. So I'm frustrated with the fact that continues to be a problem that is not being fixed. And then Barkley and Conte, once again, the box-to-box players. Barkley not really involved today. I don't remember anything very effective from him. He did okay. He had some good moments, but overall it was very average. I don't really remember a whole lot from him. Conte obviously was very involved, got the goal as well. Not exactly the cleanest strike. Keeper probably should have done a little bit better, but in my opinion, the run was fantastic. So he's definitely showing that he has that attacking side to his game, but I still think he'd be much more effective in the defensive midfield role. And you could see it. There were times today when he did drop deeper and he did manage to get back and win challenges. And I'm just sitting there thinking, that's why we need him there, because that's what he does so effectively. But like I said, Sarri's not going to change anything. He's going to continue to do the same thing over and over and over again until eventually we start to lose because teams figure us out, and then eventually the board will be like, oh, maybe this wasn't a good decision, and then finally sack him and get rid of him. And then the front three, Willian and Giroud, in my opinion, both had pretty poor games today. Willian, once again, very involved, but the finishing product was not there. He did get some better chances on target today, which was good, because in the past his chances on target have been pitiful, and then the rest of his chances have been off target, obviously. Today he did have two good chances on target that actually tested the keeper, forced him to make a save, but he still wasted way too many opportunities for me to say he had a good game today. And then Giroud has not looked really up to pace since Sarri sort of dropped him out in preference of Hazard starting in the false nine. Every time he's come on since that's happened, he just looks like he hasn't been up to speed. He looks like his touch has been awful, like he hasn't really been able to find the play. And that's disappointing because he's been a player at the beginning of the season that was really doing well for us. When he came off the bench, when he started, he was affecting the play, he was getting involved, he was doing something that would help us get a chance. And it created opportunities like he did for France in the World Cup. It created opportunities for the players around him, like Hazard or Pedro or Willian. But it's like, Sarri stopped playing him, and now he's lost his speed. He's lost his ability to get involved in the game and create opportunities. He did one or two times today, but it wasn't nearly as many as he was at the beginning of the season, which is what we needed from him today, honestly. So I'm really disappointed with Sarri for dropping him out of the side and sort of causing that, but there's not much he can do at that point. And then Hazard, obviously, once again, very involved, not as effective today as he has been in the past few games. I thought a lot of his moments were very... I think that he's trying to do too much in narrow spaces, and a lot of that is down to the fact that, Palace pack it in, and when they do pack it in, he starts to get a little bit more limited, especially when the movement up top is not great, which, while Giroud does move quite a bit, Willian is not the best with moving. It really was a game that called out for Pedro to be up there with him, because I really do think Pedro would have opened up the spaces a lot more. But as far as Hazard is concerned, I still think he worked very hard. There were moments when he even tracked back defensively, which I thought was good from him. There's a lot of speculation and talk about, is he going to move on to Real? Is he going to move on somewhere else? Is he going to leave? And in my opinion, I really don't know. Nobody can really know what's going on in his head. I have heard him mention a lot how he wants to be a Chelsea legend, how he wants to be up there with the likes of Terry and Drogba. Does that mean he's going to stick around and try to make himself a legend, try to, I guess, go and win the Champions League with Chelsea or something along those lines? I don't know. But I do think unless we get a striker up there that's going to help him out, that's going to create these opportunities for him by being more involved in the play, or even putting him in behind two strikers, which I don't understand why we haven't tried that yet. And of course, with Giroud going out injured, that doesn't help our chances at all. But I think he needs more help up there. And when you put him up there with Willian, he's not gonna get as many chances because Willian stays wide and doesn't really open up space for him. So it's just another Sarri thing that is not really helping Hazard, to be honest. It's one of his tactics that doesn't help Hazard. And then as far as the subs that came on, first one was that Emerson on first or Murata? I can't remember now. I'm pretty sure Murata came on first because Giroud went off with the injury. And then Emerson came on for Willian. I think that's switched. Honestly, I can't remember now. It all kind of blurred together near the end because it just kind of got bleh. And nobody was really creating chances, and I lost focus. And then Kovacic came on for Barkley. None of them did anything super spectacular. Murata had a few good chances that he flicked on Hazard. Emerson had one or two good plays. Kovacic came on and was just kind of full of energy but didn't really do much. So not much to talk about as far as the subs are concerned. And honestly, with the options we had on the bench, there's not much more he could have done aside from maybe taking off Alonso because he was having a terrible game and was on a yellow card. But yeah, I'm hoping these injuries that all these players picked up, I'm hoping they're not too bad because we are going to need them. we need more options. We need something different because Sarri keeps doing the same thing, and it's making these games difficult to watch. Even games like this where yes, it is going to be a grind, and yes, getting a win is a good result, but we still didn't show anything different. It was just the same thing, and eventually one of the passes finally worked. In another game, that may not have worked. The keeper may have made the save, and then we wouldn't have had a goal at the end of the game. So, yeah, we've got to finish our chances. We've got to make sure that we're doing something different to affect the game. But unfortunately, with Sarri, I just don't see that happening. So, that's it for me. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on today's game? Let me know what we can talk about and discuss. All the good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews. I'll see you guys in the next game. Peace out.